Well, Erev Tov, everyone, and welcome to the House of Seven Beggars. It is Tuesday night. It is 8 p.m. here on the East Coast of the United States. Therefore, it must be. Therefore, it must be. Oh, what, you want me to say something? Well, yeah, don't we usually introduce? Well, it's been so long that I didn't remember how to do it. It is Zeyde's Story Corner. Yes, it's Zeyde's Story Corner, a special Zeyde Story Corner for tonight. We are here on live stream to do a couple of stories. As many of you know, that one of our members of our synagogue passed away not too long ago. And Lisa and VanderLeest. Yes, Lisa and VanderLeest, who was a big supporter of the synagogue, and she left very specific instructions about what her wishes were. And among those were that she did not want to have a funeral, she did not want to have a memorial service or anything. She wanted people to remember her as she was and to move on with their life and be joyful. Keep joy in their heart. Yes, she was a very nice person, despite all the fact that she was very sick. Yes, even though she was very sick, very few people knew it because she didn't let on. So we thought that rather than doing a memorial service, that we would do something that Anne really enjoyed, and that is to do Zeyde's Story Corner and have Zeyde tell a couple of his favorite stories. Oh, yes. I would love to do this. I love to tell stories anyway, and I know Anne really enjoyed the stories because she never missed a show. No, she didn't. She never missed a show when you were on. I mean, unlike some of my shows, she did kind of tend to miss them now and then. Well, yeah, but, you know, who could turn down a face like this? Okay. Shall we get on with the stories? Oh, yes, let us get on with the stories right away. Okay, do you want to introduce this one? No, I think you should introduce this one because you wrote it. Okay, well, yes, I did write this one. This is from my book, New Hasidic Stories. It is called The Rabbi and the Aleph. Now, I can't take full credit for this story because many years ago, I heard this story about the Rabbi and the Aleph, and I do not remember who it was that told it to me. And I don't know how long ago it was, but I remember one thing very clearly. I never forgot the story. So what I decided to do is, when I was writing the book, that I would retell the story in my own way. Yes, so we should get on with the story. Okay, let us get on with the story. So before you and I were born, before our fathers and grandfathers, and even their grandfathers were born, there were great sages who wanted to know all about the Torah, this world, and the world beyond. They studied the ancient writings and wrote their own interpretations in their commentaries, their thoughts, and their conclusions. This tradition continues to this very day. They continue to build on the foundation handed down to them by the sages to seek an understanding of Hashem in this corporal existence and beyond. So our story begins not in ancient days and not in the present, but in the days of our grandfather's grandfather. In the old times, there was a rabbi who was a very great scholar. As a young man, he read and studied the Torah and commentaries. From the Torah, he went on to study the Talmud and knew all the Meshkot. Still, this was not enough. I still want to know more, he cried. So, he started to study the mystical text, the Sefer Yetzirah and the Zohar. Still, he cried out, there is still so much to know, and though I have studied much, I still want to know more. One day, an idea came to his mind. Since all the texts that I have read are rooted in the Torah, I will study the Torah until I understand it completely, and in all its levels. If I can understand the Torah, then I will understand all of the other texts, and then I will know it all. And so he began. Day in and day out, he studied. Now, the rabbi was having a great difficulty studying because of all the disruptions that face a rabbi each day. Questions from his Talmidim, hearing disputes, the noise of the marketplace, all these kept him from gaining the knowledge he craved. So, the rabbi had his students wall him up in the room. Can you imagine such a thing? Yeah, that is kind of strange. And the room had no pictures on the wall to distract him, and only his bed, a chair, a table, and a small lamp furnishing the room. High up on the wall, too high to reach, was a small window to let light into the room, so the rabbi could distinguish the day from night. That's probably so he would know what times to pray. That is probably why. Anyway, shall we get on? On the table, along with the Torah, he had paper, an inkwell, and a quill with which he would record his thoughts. His only human contact was to a space in the walled-up door, just big enough to pass food through and allow him to be counted as part of the minyan for prayers. With no distractions and only the Torah to read, the rabbi started to study. He started with the Sefer Breshit. However, after many, many months of study, he found that this was too much information to start. So he concentrated only on the first parsha, Bereshit. Again, after many, many months, he decided that this also was too much information. And so it went on. He concentrated on one page, and then one chapter, one verse, one sentence, and one word. Finally, after a number of years, man, this guy was really dedicated. Yes, he was very dedicated, yeah. Years, it says. Yes, it does say after many years. So after a number of years, he walked over to the wall opposite his bed and he drew a letter of the Hebrew alphabet on the wall. With great care and skill, he drew a very large and very beautiful aleph, the first letter of the alphabet. Each day, as soon as the light entered his room through the small window, and he had finished the morning prayers, he would sit on his chair at the table, and, with the paper in front of him, and the quill in his hand, he would concentrate on the Aleph. At night, he would lie in his bed facing the Aleph and stare at it until the lamp burned down and he drifted off to sleep. Now, on a bright sunny summer morning, one of the students of the rabbi came to his lunch, or came with his lunch. Didn't come to his lunch. No. That would be silly, come to his lunch. No, that's why it says came with his lunch. Yeah, that's probably why it says it. Yeah, you should probably read better. I probably should read better. You would think I would know this because I wrote it. You would think so, wouldn't you? Okay, well, let's get back to the story. Okay. On a bright sunny summer day, one of the students of the rabbi came with his lunch and to collect the dishes from the rabbi's breakfast. When he walked toward the walled-up doorway, he noticed that the rabbi's breakfast had not been touched. "Rabbi, are you all right?" the Talmud called out. But there was no answer. Again he called out, "Rabbi, please answer. Are you all right?" Still, there was no answer. The Talmud looked through the space, but he could not see the rabbi. As he peered through the opening, he could see the Aleph written on the wall. He saw the chair tipped on its side. He saw the inkwell, which was tipped over, and the ink had run across the table and onto the floor. I did that once when I was little. Oh, you did? Yes, I spilled the inkwell on the table at my mama and papa's house. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, they were none too happy about it. Oh, I bet they probably weren't. Anyway, the rabbi, he spilled on the table and onto the floor. Then he saw the paper on the table, and something was written on it. But the rabbi was nowhere to be seen. He could not see the entire room through the small opening. He thought, the rabbi must be sick or dying and cannot answer. Frantic, the Talmud ran into the study hall where the other Talmidim were studying. "Something has happened to the rabbi," he cried out. They all jumped to their feet and ran into the sanctuary and gathered around the walled-up door. "Rabbi, Rabbi," they cried out time and again, listening very carefully each time they called. But there was nothing. No voice, no sounds of breathing, only silence. "Get the brick mason," one of them cried out, "and break down the wall." One of the Talmidim ran as quickly, returned with the brick mason. "Tear down the wall. Something has happened to the rabbi," they cried. The mason worked quickly and soon had a space large enough for them to enter the room. One by one, they all came into the room and looked around. But the rabbi was not in the room. He was not in the corners, nor was he under the bed. They looked up at the small window, but it was unbroken, and it was far too small to allow anyone to pass through. They checked the walls, but they were sure that there were no secret passages. Then one of the Talmidim walked over to the table and picked up the paper. The others saw him with the paper. "What is it? What is written on the paper?" they all asked. With a confused look on his face, the Talmud looked up and said, "It says, I am going for a walk. Meet me in the market when you find this note." and it is signed by the Rabbi. Bewildered, they made their way to the market, and there they found the Rabbi sitting in the midst of a very large group of people, giving the most awesome talk on the Torah that any of them had ever heard. The people were transfixed on the Rebbe's words. Even the children listened with great interest and a look of total joy on their faces. The Rabbi, too, had a look of total joy on his face. And his face shined like polished gold, and his eyes were like burning coals. Amazed, the Talmidim just stood there listening, forgetting all their fears and worry of just a few moments before. The Rabbi concluded his lesson, and all the people returned to their tasks and business. But now everyone was laughing and talking and in a very good mood. The children went on with their games and playing. The Rabbi looked over to where his Talmidim were and smiled. "Rabbi, how did you get out of the room?" one of them exclaimed. Day after day, week after week, year after year, I concentrated on the Aleph, the Rabbi explained. Last night, I was very much in despair. I came to realize that no matter how much I understood, I really understood very little. In fact, in the grand scheme of things, it was as if I understood nothing at all. I drifted off to sleep, begging Hashem to open my heart and my mind to the wonders of this world and the upper realms. As I slept, I heard the voice of Rabbi Tarfon saying, "It is not incumbent upon you to finish the task, yet you are not free to desist from it. If you have studied much in the Torah, much reward will be given you, for faithful is your employer, who shall pay you the reward of your labor. And know that the reward for the righteous shall be in the time to come." Then I heard the voice of Rabban Gamliel saying, "Great is study of the Torah when combined with worldly occupation, for toil in them both put sin out of the mind. All study of the Torah, which is not supplemented by work, is destined to prove futile and cause sin. Let all who occupy themselves with communal affairs do so for the sake of heaven. For then the merit of their fathers sustains them, and their righteousness endures forever. And as for you, God will say, I count you worthy of great reward, as if you had done it all yourselves." Today, as I meditated on the Aleph, the words of Rabbi Tarfon and Rabban Gamliel kept coming into my mind. Then I noticed the Aleph started to change. The letter became transparent, and I could see through to the street outside. I watched as the people went about their daily routines. I saw people laugh and talk, debate and argue, sell and make purchases, and I watched the children running and playing. As I watched, I became aware. just as every letter of the Torah was important to every other letter, and it is only when it is complete that we can begin to understand. Then I realized that everything that I was seeing was important and played a part in God's world and the upper realms. Every event, no matter how trivial, impacts others. Every word, however spoken, was heard by another. Every person, no matter how small or poor, was important to everything and everyone around them. As I came to fully understand that a man cannot separate himself from his fellows and hope to know anything of the wonders of the Torah and this world or the world beyond, I saw the wall around the Aleph disappear, and I was once again part of the world. So, I wrote you a note and I went for a walk. And that is the end of the Rabbi and the Aleph. Well, that was a very good story. Yes, it is one of my very favorite stories. I love that story. Yes, that is a wonderful story, and it's a wonderful lesson also. I've never forgotten that story ever since I heard it for the first time. And you shouldn't forget it. No, you should not forget it. Okay, well, again, we want to thank everybody for being with us tonight here for this special Zeyde Story Corner in memory of one of Zeyde's biggest fans, and Lisa Ann VanderLeest, who was a member of this synagogue and who passed away not too long ago. This story we picked because of Lisa's. Now, she was a great animal lover. Oh, that's probably why she liked me so much. Oh, well, yeah, that's probably one of the reasons. But then again, who could resist you? I keep telling everybody that. Well, yeah. Okay, but we picked this one because it dealt specifically with cats and dogs, and it's a very interesting story, to say the least. It was originally written by Gertrude Landa, otherwise known as Aunt Naomi. This was written back in 1919. It was updated and retold by me in my book, New Hasidic Stories, and I hope you enjoy it. I hope you enjoy it too. It is very interesting, and it is a little bit funny too. Okay, so this is called The Quarrel of the Cat and the Dog. There are many stories about the reasons why cats and dogs do not get along. These stories also often involve an accident or misunderstanding. However, the story is much, much older than that. It seems that in the early days of the world, when Adam named all the animals and ruled over them, the dog and the cat were the greatest of friends. Can you imagine that? The way they carry on today, you wouldn't think so. Yeah, I know. Yeah. They were inseparable partners and devoted comrades in all their adventures. They shared their pleasures and their sorrows. They lived together, shared each other's food and confidence, their secrets. They would confide their secrets to none but themselves. It seemed that no possible difference would ever arise to cause trouble between them. Or so we would think. Yes, we'll have to see what happens. Well, as we know, Adam and Chava were banned from Gan Eden. And the animals had to leave also, including the cat and the dog. It was especially hard on them. And then the winter came. Winter was a whole new experience for them. To feel the cold wind cut through, right through their fur down to their skins, making them shiver. The gloomy prospect of all the lifeless trees and the cold hard ground weighed heavily upon their hearts. But worse still, there was less food. The scarcity of food grew serious, and hunger plagued them into unhappiness and despair. The dog became sad, while the cat grew crabby, then grouchy, and finally developed a horrid temper. They say cats are like that. Yeah, they do say cats are like that. I don't see it myself. Well, maybe you're too close to it. Yeah, maybe so. Okay. Well, anyway, let's get back to the story. Okay, so back to this story. Well, we can't go on like this, moaned the cat. I think we had better dissolve our partnership. We can't find enough food to share when we are together, but separately, maybe we might find enough food in our hunting and live on. I think I can help you because I am stronger, said the dog. The cat did not disagree with the dog, but she thought the dog was a bit of a fool and too good-natured. Dogs are kind of like that. Well, you might be a little biased, though. That's true, I might be. She knew she was sly, and she needed only rely on that quality for her future sustenance. The dog was deeply hurt at the cat's desire to end their happy friendship. But he said sadly, "Of course, if you think it's best, I will agree." "Then it is agreed," purred the cat. "Where will you go?" asked the dog. "Will you be all right?" "I will go to the house of the man, Adam," confidently replied the cat, who clearly had a plan in mind of some type. "There are nice fat mice there, and I am sure Adam will be happy if I clear them away, and I will have plenty of food to eat." "Very well," said the dog. I guess I will just wander in the other direction and see what I can find." Then the cat said seriously, "We must take an oath never to cross each other's path. That is the proper way to end a business agreement. The snake told me so, and he says he is the wisest of all animals." Yeah, I know. I'm thinking the same thing you are. Yeah, the snake was the wisest. Yeah, right. Okay. They put out their right paws together and seriously repeated their oath never to interfere with the other by going to the same place. Then they parted. The dog walked away sorrowfully, and his head hanging down. He kept looking back, hoping the cat would change her mind, but the cat did not. She didn't even look back at him. She scampered off as fast as she could to the house of Adam. In a short time, she came to the house of the man, Adam. You remember that from earlier. Yes, we remember. It was Adam. Yes. What other men were there? Well, that's true. That's a good point. There wasn't any other man, so we could have just said the man. But we should call him Adam. Okay. She jumped up onto the windowsill and bumped open the window. "Father Adam," she cried out, "I have come to be your servant. I know you are troubled with mice in the house. I can rid you of them. and I want nothing else for my services." Father Adam walked into the room. "In that case, you are welcome," said Father Adam, scratching the cat between the ears and stroking her warm fur. The cat jumped down into the house and rubbed her head against his feet. She purred cheerfully and ran off to look for mice. She found plenty and soon grew fat and comfortable. Adam treated her kindly, and she soon forgot all about her former friend. Now, the poor dog did not fare so well. He was really having a terrible time. He wandered aimlessly about over the frozen ground and could not find even the slightest scrap of food. After 3 days, tired, sore, and discouraged, he came to a wolf's lair and begged for shelter. The wolf took pity on him. "Well, I guess you can stay, but keep out of my way." The wolf gave the dog a few scraps of food and let him sleep in the corner of the lair. The dog was very thankful and curled up in the back corner and went to sleep. But he kept his ears on alert. During the night, the dog heard sneaky footsteps outside the lair. He woke the wolf, saying, "Something is creeping around outside." The wolf was not impressed. "Well, go out and drive the intruders away," he said in a surly tone. The dog went out to do as the wolf had told him. But the marauders were bigger wild animals, and they nearly killed the dog. He was lucky to escape with his life. He finally got away and hid in the forest till morning. After bathing his wounds at a pool of water, he wandered all day long searching, but again he could find nothing. Toward evening, when he could barely drag his starving and wounded body along, he saw a monkey in a tree. "Kind monkey," he pleaded, "please give me shelter for the night. I am exhausted and starving." "Go away, go away, go away," chattered the monkey, jumping and swinging quickly from branch to branch, talking so quickly and making so much noise that the dog could not understand him. The dog hesitated, but the monkey pulled coconuts from the tree and pelted him to frighten him away. The poor dog ran away as fast as he could. A short distance away, he collapsed onto the ground. "What shall I do? I will surely die," he cried, his cry echoing through the forest. Lying, panting on the ground, hoping to gain a little strength so he could continue on, he fell asleep. He awoke a little while later, and in the quiet of the late afternoon, he heard the bleating of some sheep in the distance. He made his way to a small meadow where he found them and asked them to take pity on him. The sheep looked at the poor, ragged dog and said, "You may stay," they replied, "but you must keep watch over us and warn us if the wolf comes." The dog agreed willingly, and after he had devoured some food, he stretched out and settled down to sleep, like a faithful watchdog, keeping one eye open for wolves. In the middle of the night, the dog heard wolves approaching. Anxious to serve the sheep that had treated him so kindly, He sprang to his feet and began to bark loudly. He woke the sheep and frightened them so much that they started running in all directions. Some of them even ran right into the pack of wolves and were killed and eaten. Oh my goodness, that's terrible. Yeah, it would be. Well, it would be if you were a sheep. Probably not so much if you were a wolf. Yeah, that's probably a good point. Yeah, I thought it was. Yeah. I appreciate you noticing that. Oh, you're very welcome. Okay, so back to the story. The poor dog was heartbroken. It's all my fault, he wailed. I barked too loud. Oh, what an unhappy creature am I. A curse to all I meet. I shall keep away from all animals from now on. Once again, he set off on his travels. Whenever he saw an animal, he ran off in the opposite direction. He made his journey by the lowliest paths and the most isolated trails, and his ability to find food grew steadily worse. At last, he was so weak and thin that he hardly had the strength even to crawl. In his weakened state, he had almost fallen prey to ferocious beasts. One night, he came upon a house. He went up to the house and scratched at the door. When the man opened the door, the dog begged for a morsel of food. The man gave the dog some food and told him he could sleep by the fire. With food in his belly, and a warm place to lie down, and the house around him for protection, the dog quickly fell sound asleep. You know, I do the same thing. Yeah, I think we all do. You know, a little bit of food and a little bit of warmth and a house for protection. That'll put you right to sleep. Oh yes, it certainly will. I mean, I could do that right now. Well, let's not do that. Let's finish the story. Okay, we shall finish the story. Okay. The next morning, the dog awoke feeling rested and stronger. Over the next few days, he regained all his strength and even started to think things might just finally work out for him. One night, he woke the man and warned him that wild animals were surrounding the house and were about to attack his flocks. The man jumped up, seized his bow and arrow, and the man and the dog drove the beast away. The man was grateful to the dog, and he patted the dog on the head. "Good dog," he said. "You are a wise animal. Stay with me always. You will find Father Adam is a kind master." "Father Adam!" cried the dog in alarm. I cannot stay here. I must leave." "Nonsense. I say you must stay here," answered Adam, and the dog was bound to obey. Well, a few days later, guess who turns up? The cat returned from her wanderings and found out that the dog had joined the household, and she immediately complained bitterly to Adam. "Father Adam, the dog must go. He has violated the oath. He swore not to come to the place where I am," she said. "The dog did not know you were here," said Adam, wanting to keep peace in his home. "He is very helpful to me. I want him to remain. He won't hurt you. There is enough food and room for you and the dog." "No, there isn't," hissed the cat spitefully. She arched her back and sounded very cross. She said, "He broke his oath. He is a wicked creature. You dare not overlook his offense. You must send him away." The poor dog stood unhappily next to the door with his tail between his legs. I didn't know this was Adam's house. And I was so hungry and miserable and tired, he said. But the cat would not listen. She had no pity for her former friend. She thrust out her ugly claws and tried to scratch the dog. The dog jumped back to keep out of the way, but she fought with him at every opportunity. Kind of like dogs and cats today. I think that's the point of the story. You think? After a while, the dog had had enough of the cat's taunts and her constant efforts to attack him, and he started to fight back. Soon, there was no peace in the house for the cat, the dog, or for poor Adam. Adam finally brought the cat and the dog into the room. I can no longer take your constant fighting. He broke his oath, the cat said, swiping her claw at the dog. She is selfish and vengeful, said the dog, growling and baring his teeth at the cat. You blame each other, said Adam, losing patience. I don't understand you two. You were once friends, and now look at you. You look like you will quarrel with each other forever. Well, Adam's words have proven true. Ever since that time, cats and dogs have failed to agree on anything. And the cat will never consent to be friendly again with the dog. And what became of all the fighting in Adam's house? One night, the dog had a dream. The next morning, he went to Adam. I must leave you, Father Adam, he said. But I want you to stay here, said Adam. I'm sorry, said the dog, but it is really impossible for me to stay any longer. I have been commanded to go with Cain. He has greater need of me. But that is a story for another time. Oh, that was very nice. That was a very, very nice story. Yeah, they were both very nice stories, and I sure hope that Anne appreciated them, because I know how much she liked to listen to me tell stories, and she even liked some of the comments that I like to make. I like to make comments when we're making stories. Yes, I noticed that. Boy, you do your fair share too. Yes, that is true. I do. I hope you all enjoyed our somewhat kind of memorial service for Lisa Ann VanderLeest. And Zeyde will be coming back very soon. Next week we will be back. We will be back on Blog Talk Radio for our regular study hall. Until then, everyone, Laila Tov, everyone!